Namaskar, hello and welcome. You're watching the news with your host Kriti Mishra. In next 30 minutes, I'll take you through news from around the world. First up, the headlines this Wednesday evening. Counting of votes for Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Punjab, Goa and Manipur to start tomorrow at 8 a.m. Ban imposed on victory processions. Union Cabinet approves formation of National Land Monetization Corporation to fast-track monetization of land and non-core assets of PSCs. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla expresses concern over declining standards in legislatures, advises parties to take decisions through consensus. Ukraine and Russia announce ceasefire to facilitate civilian evacuations. IAEA says it lost contact with Chernobyl nuclear plant. US to finalize $12 billion aid package for Ukraine. 700 Indian students evacuated from Sumy expected to return tomorrow. A look at the other important news in our Flash News segment. All Indian students safely evacuated from Sumy, says government. US, EU and UK target Russia with oil ban and gas curbs over Ukraine crisis. WHO reverses earlier stand, recommends booster dose against coronavirus. NIA carries out raids at multiple locations in Kashmir Valley. Home Minister Amit Shah launches many projects in Tripura. BJP demands CBI probe into alleged conspiracy to target its Maharashtra leaders. Budget session of Tamil Nadu Assembly to be convened from 18th of March. Anand Subramaniam sent to 14-day judicial custody in NEC co-location scam. Hijacker of 1999 IC 814 Indian Airlines flight Misri Zahoor Ibrahim shot dead in Karachi. Calcutta High Court asked Bengal government to explain restrictions on internet connectivity during board exams. Now all the news from Assembly polls where the final countdown has started. Counting of votes for Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Punjab, Goa and Manipur will be held on Thursday. The counting will begin at 8 a.m. amid tight security arrangements and strict COVID protocols. Postal ballots will be counted first. Trends and results will be available on the Election Commission website. They can also be accessed through the Voter Helpline mobile app.
सभी मतगणना केंद्रों पर निष्पक्षता, पारदर्शिता सुनिश्चित करने और सबसे महत्वपूर्ण की शांति व्यवस्था बरकरार रखने के लिए पर्याप्त व्यवस्थाएं की गई हैं। मतगणना स्थल और जो स्ट्रांग रूम हैं की जगह पर हैं और उन सभी जगहों पर 3 लेयर CAPF सिक्योरिटी की व्यवस्था है और बाहर भी पूरी इंतजामात किए गए हैं।
Public gatherings have been banned outside counting venues. The counting centers, EVMs, VVPATs and sealed boxes will be sanitized. Thermal screening will be done at the entry of hall, room or premises. The Commission has already banned victory processions on or after counting day. People trying to create disorder or riot will face strict action. Not more than 2 people will be allowed to accompany winning candidates to obtain election certificates from the returning officers.
सुरक्षा व्यवस्थाएं की गई हैं। इस संबंध में माननीय निर्वाचन आयोग के जो भी निर्देश दिए गए हैं वो हमारे सभी फील्ड अफसरों को अवगत करा दिया गया है। इस दौरान लगभग 70,000 सिविल पुलिस के कर्मी तथा 245 कंपनी अर्धसैनिक बल तथा 69 कंपनी PSC का डिप्लॉयमेंट किया गया है।
Voting in Uttar Pradesh was held in 7 phases from 10th of February to 7th of March. Goa and Uttarakhand had elections on 14th of February, while Punjab saw polls on 20th of February. Manipur had 2-phase elections on 28th of February and 5th of March. Votes will also be counted for the by-election to the Majoli Assembly seat of Assam. And Sansad TV will bring you live all the updates related to the Assembly election results throughout the day on 10th March. Our experts will also bring you the detailed analysis and the emerging shape of country's politics in these 5 states. Now all the news from Russia and Ukraine conflict. Russia has said that it will achieve its goal of ensuring Ukraine's neutral status through talks. Moscow has also underscored that it does not intend to overthrow the Kiev government and it hopes to achieve more significant progress in the next round of talks with Ukraine. Meanwhile, both countries enforced a ceasefire to ensure civilian evacuations.
The guns have fallen temporarily silent in Ukraine to help civilians escape the fighting. Ukraine Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk said Moscow has pledged to respect the truce from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. around 6 areas heavily hit by fighting. They include regions near Kiev, in Zaporizhia in south, and some part of Ukraine's northeast that have seen heavy fighting. Meanwhile, putting a number to widespread displacement, UNHCR said 2.1 to 2.2 million people have left the Ukraine.
So we've gone over 2 million refugees now, and in Poland, as you know, we're over 1 million. Poland is a country of 38 million. That is a huge number for a country like this, but the welcome that has been shown by the Polish government, but also by civil society, is absolutely amazing. You can see it here at the train station, you can see it at the borders, and we really welcome that.
According to UN's atomic watchdog, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant is no longer transmitting data. The European Union is adding more Russian oligarchs and officials to its sanctioned blacklist. It also plans to target the maritime sector over Moscow's war in Ukraine. In retaliation, Russia has warned that it was working on a broad response to sanctions that will be swift and felt in West's most sensitive areas. Ukraine's President Zelensky is no longer pressing for NATO membership. It was one of the reasons that Russia stated for its invasion, underscoring his country's predicament. Zelensky said he doesn't want his country begging something on its knees. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And US has increased its aid package for Ukraine and its Eastern European allies to $14 billion. This will be a key component of a $1.5 trillion government spending bill that Congress is expected to enact by this weekend. Both Democrats and Republicans rallied solidly behind the Ukraine aid. Negotiators said the package of military, humanitarian and economic aid to the region had grown close to $14 billion, up from $12 billion on Monday. President Joe Biden had sought $10 billion last week. And the US administration has acknowledged that not all allies are in agreement on banning oil and gas imports from Russia. President Joe Biden had issued an executive order on Tuesday banning the imports of crude oil, petroleum products, liquefied natural gas and coal from Russia. Last year, the US had daily imports of 7 lakh barrels of crude oil and refined petroleum products from Russia.
We're banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy. That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at US ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine. This is a move that has strong bipartisan support in the Congress and, I believe, in the country. Americans have rallied to support their Ukrainian people and made it clear we will not be part of subsidizing Putin's war.
Several American brands like McDonald's, Starbucks, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo and General Electric have also announced temporary suspension of businesses in Russia in response to its military operations in Ukraine. And the last big group of around 700 Indian students who were evacuated from Sumy city boarded a special train from Poltava on Wednesday. They are likely to reach Poland on Thursday, from where they will board a flight to India. The students were taken to Poltava in a convoy of 13 buses by the International Committee of the Red Cross during the ceasefire operations. Now let's take a look into the world of business and economy. America's decision to ban Russian oil and rising crude oil prices dampened spirits on Asian stock markets. But a few indices took the cue from their European counterparts to gain smartly. Overall, there was a mixed mood in the markets. Singapore's Straits Times gained around 1.5%. Taiwan weighted was also up by over 1%. However, South Korea's Kospi was down over 1%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng headed south and ended the trade with a loss of 0.67%. Despite the American ban on the Russian oil, Indian markets saw a more positive side of developments on Wednesday. They took hope in the expected opening of the Venezuelan and Iranian oil markets. The exit polls predicting a victory on expected lines also gave a much-needed boost to the market. In any case, most of the indices have lost around more than 6.5% during 30 days. So, it was a good buying opportunity. No wonder bulls took over. BSE Sensex gained 1,223 points or 2% and ended the day at 54,647 levels. NSE Nifty 50 was also up by 2% at the end of the trade. It was 16,345 levels. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Wednesday expressed concern over the increasing trend of disruptions and boycotts during speeches by members in legislatures. He was addressing a function to present the awards of excellence to outstanding legislators in the Madhya Pradesh Assembly. The Lok Sabha Speaker said members should respect the dignity and tradition of the House. He added that political fortunes of parties will always change, but it is their responsibility to maintain dignity and decorum in the House.
सदनों की गिरती हुई मर्यादा गरिमा को बनाए रखें। क्योंकि अगर लोकतंत्र के अंदर, इन संस्थाओं के अंदर शालीनता, मर्यादा, गरिमा कम होगी तो हमारा लोकतंत्र कमजोर होगा।
Moving on, many important decisions were taken at a cabinet meeting chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday. The cabinet approved setting up of National Land Monetization Corporation to monetize and oversee surplus land and buildings of government agencies and PSUs which are either being sold or on the verge of closure. A special entity will be set up as a wholly owned government company with an initial share capital of 5,000 crore and a paid-up share capital of 150 crore. Also approved were amendments to the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act of 1957 to clarify the rate of royalty for certain minerals. This will pave the way for the auction of the deposits of minerals that include potash, emerald, platinum and group metals. The government also gave the go-ahead for an MOU between ICMR and Oxford University, UK. It will facilitate capacity building for Indian scientists and researchers, collection of data, sharing of views on vector-borne diseases, development, exploring opportunities for collaboration on research programs. The cabinet has also cleared a WHO Global Centre for Traditional Medicine in India in Jamnagar in Gujarat. And in news from other parts of the country. Telangana Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao has announced that 91,142 posts lying vacant in government departments will be filled soon. He said 80,000 posts will be filled through direct recruitments and the rest 11,000 will be on contract basis. Leader of opposition in Maharashtra Assembly, Devendra Fadnavis, demanded the resignation of Cabinet Minister Nawab Malik. Proceedings of the Assembly had to be adjourned on Wednesday after a deadlock on the issue. BJP MLAs Sudeep and Mihir Goswami were suspended for the rest of the budget session on Wednesday. The action followed disruption of the Bengal Assembly proceedings during Governor Jagdeep Dhankar's address earlier this week. Uttar Pradesh has bagged the centre's E-Shram award. The state secured the highest number of registrations of workers in the unorganized sector on the E-Shram portal. It also claimed second position in registrations through the State Service Centre. And in Assam, the BJP registered a big victory by defeating the Congress in the municipal elections. BJP made a clean sweep by bagging 74 of the 80 municipal councils. The Congress secured just one municipal board, while the AAP won 2. The Delhi High Court has sought a reply from the Delhi police within 10 days on the bail application of Sharjeel Imam. The JNU student leader was arrested for making inflammatory speeches during the 2019 protests against the CAA and NRC. The matter will be heard next on March 24th. And 3 people died in the collapse of a mine in Peddapalli district of Telangana. Work was underway to rescue 4 people trapped in the incident. Many areas of Rajasthan witnessed rain and hailstorm. The weather department had predicted hailstorms with strong winds in Udaipur, Ajmer, Kota, Jaipur and Bharatpur divisions. Enumeration of Asian migratory birds and local birds is underway in Jammu and Kashmir's Pulwama district. The work is being undertaken in collaboration with the Wildlife Conservation Department and Wildlife Conservation Fund. The National Medical Commission has removed the upper age limit for appearing in the undergraduate medical entrance exam, NEET UG, for all candidates. Earlier, this age limit was 25 years for general category candidates and 30 years for reserved category candidates. And after the break, the show must go on. Ballet dancers of Ukraine give their last performance to a rousing reception in Paris.
It is a self-contained code, but the powers that are used by the officers for investigating offences under this act are actually the powers of another act.
We think that black money means the money on which the tax has not been, but foreign exchange is slightly more than that.
Watch with us, 75 years, laws that shaped India.
Welcome back. You're watching the news. Now, important news from across the world. Voting took place for South Korea's presidential elections on Wednesday. The race for the new president includes a liberal ruling party candidate and a conservative former prosecutor considered the favourites in a tight contest. Pre-election surveys showed liberal Lee Jae and his main conservative challenger, ex-prosecutor general Yoon Suk-yeol, running neck and neck. France, Britain and Germany have asked Russia not to block the Iran nuclear accord of 2015 with extraneous conditions. Russia has demanded guarantees that the new sanctions linked to Ukraine will not affect Moscow's rights under a reworked Iran nuclear deal. A Texas man was convicted on Tuesday of storming in the U.S. Capitol with handgun. It was the first trial among the hundreds of cases arising from last year's riot. A jury convicted Guy Wesley of obstructing Congress's joint session to certify the Electoral College vote on 26th of January 2021 and interfering with police officers, among other things. The US Congress passed a legislation to ensure 6-day-a-week mail delivery. The bill has been sent to President Joe Biden to sign into law. The long-fought postal overhaul has been years in the making and comes amid widespread complaints about mail service slowdowns. Officials had repeatedly warned that without congressional action, it would run out of cash by 2024. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison will declare a national emergency following the floods in East Coast that claimed 22 lives. It will be the first such declaration since a law was passed in December 2020 in response to catastrophic wildfires during the previous Southern Hemisphere summer. Heavy rains have been seen in New South Wales and Queensland states. Some of these communities were battling fires 2 years ago. As the planet warms, the western US is seeing shorter and drier winters. This is making it more difficult to remove dead trees and scrub that build up in the forests and can lead to massive deadly wildfire infernos.
Forest workers prevent wildfires by torching these piles of woody debris. But with climate change drying up the forests, western wildfires are becoming more volatile. Increasingly erratic weather means winter moisture is not always there when it is needed to safely burn off tall debris piles. Good conditions for pile burning are good and clean air, a bit of wind and some snow. But with shorter winters, none of these are available, which means the window for controlled burns is shrinking, seriously complicating the job of firefighters. Catastrophic fires flattened vast forest land in Colorado, California, Oregon, Montana, and elsewhere. 2020 was the worst wildfire season on record in Colorado, a trend that is expected to only worsen. A recent infrastructure bill has provided $3 billion for fuel reduction work over 5 years. But experts say snow variability is not a platform that money can solve. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Now all the action from the world of sports. Ravindra Jadeja is the new #1 all-rounder in Test cricket. Jadeja had an epic show in the Mohali Test, scoring 175 not out, and took a match haul of 9 wickets to help India to an innings victory in Mohali. He displaces West Indies' Jason Holder at the top of the rankings. Holder held the #1 spot since February 2021. West Indies stunned defending champions England by 7 runs in their Women's World Cup match in London. England set a target of 226. It was England's second loss in a row, leaving their title defence on the edge. West Indies, on the other hand, won their first 2 matches, having upset New Zealand in the first match. Having won their first World Cup match against arch rivals Pakistan by 107 runs, Indian women will take the field against host New Zealand at Hamilton tomorrow. India had played a 5-match ODI series against New Zealand just before the tournament. New Zealand won the series 4-1. However, India won the last match and also followed it up with victories in 2 practice matches, as well as the win against Pakistan. The MCC approved new laws that will remove the Munkard method of dismissing batsmen from those listed under unfair play. The MCC has also banned the use of saliva to shine the cricket ball permanently. The far-reaching rules will come into effect from October 2022. And moving to football now, Robert scored a record-breaking hat-trick to send Bayern Munich to the Champions League quarter-finals with a 7-1 win at home against Red Bull Salzburg. The Polish striker had 3 goals to his name by the 23rd minute, the earliest anyone has ever completed a hat-trick in a Champions League game. Liverpool crept into a 4th Champions League quarter-final in 5 years despite a rare 1-0 defeat to Inter Milan. The Italian club were unable to scale the mountain they had to climb after losing the first leg 2-0 at home 3 weeks ago. And aiming to overturn a goal deficit from first leg, Real Madrid play host to Paris Saint-Germain in the second leg of their Champions League last 16 tie. A Carlin strike in the dying moments was all that could separate the 2 sides in Paris. Both teams would be on the pitch for another clash of the Titans in Madrid tonight. And dancers of the Kiev Grand Ballet gave their last performance in Paris on Wednesday evening. Between performances, the young dancers were glued to their mobile phones, checking for updates for the ongoing fighting in their country.
The Kiev City Ballet danced to a full house in Paris on Tuesday for the last show of a French tour that left the company stranded after war broke out in Ukraine. The young dancers were offered the stage of the Théâtre du Châtelet in the heart of the French capital. Being given the opportunity, dance was for many a chance to focus on something other than the conflict in Ukraine.
We are exhausted. We're both physically and emotionally exhausted. It's been a very long, very long half of my life, I think, these past several days. Everyone in the ballet is worried about their families, about loved ones, friends, colleagues at home. It's been very difficult.
One of the dancers had to leave for the Ukrainian border to pick up her young daughter who was accompanied out of the country. Only a part of the company traveled around France, performing a shortened version of the Nutcracker for young audiences. Many of the ballet's dancers stayed behind, waiting to join their colleagues after they reached Paris. All proceedings will go to NGOs collecting and shipping humanitarian aid to Ukraine and neighboring countries. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And before we sign off, a relook at the headlines. Counting of votes for Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Punjab, Goa and Manipur to start tomorrow at 8 a.m. Ban imposed on victory processions. Union Cabinet approves formation of National Land Monetization Corporation to fast-track monetization of land and non-core assets of PSCs. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla expresses concern over declining standards in legislatures, advises parties to take decisions through consensus. Ukraine and Russia announce ceasefire to facilitate civilian evacuations. IAEA says it lost contact with Chernobyl nuclear plant. US to finalize $12 billion aid package for Ukraine. 700 Indian students evacuated from Sumy expected to return tomorrow. Well, that's all we had for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Namaskar.